Hello viewers and welcome back to another iRacing highlights video. Today we're back in the Mercedes W12 in the iRacing Grand Prix series. This race is from a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas. The series went to Spa, so we've got 21 hot laps of Spa and lots of action, quite a few overtakes, lots of DRS zones being utilised to their full extent, so lots of good highlights to look forward to. I will apologise for the mic quality of my commentary during the race. I got a new headset for Christmas, not this headset, a different one, and it was dreadful. So I've already replaced it, sent it back. I already know that this microphone is much better quality. I'll make sure that the commentary is much better in the next video. Hope it isn't too distracting. And here we are on the grid of Spa, starting in P11 in the blue, yellow and pink car, you can see there, sort of halfway back along the grid. And the revs start to build up as people get ready to head off. The lights are out and we're away. We get a bit of a sluggish start, a couple of really fast starters behind us, including this Mercedes which goes around the outside of us. We get a little lock up into La Source, but we managed to stop the car in time and avoid what's happened to a few cars there and hitting one another, losing wheels, there's a bit of a carnage going on behind us as we head down through Eau Rouge and out through Radillon onto the Kemmel Straight. It took me a while to remember what it's called there. We've got a big overspeed on the car in front, but we don't go for a move. There's a lot of cars trying to get round a tight section of circuit here as we come through the Combes and down to Rivace. Lots of Mercedes liveries again in this race, but also a few differing ones, which is good to see. It's good to see variation. People getting bored of the Mercedes default livery and experimenting. Nothing quite as bright as our lovely car here though. So this is a 21 lap race around Spa. All the races in this Grand Prix series are the same length, or similar length in distance, but obviously Spa is a very long circuit and therefore we do a few less laps than we did at Silverstone last time out. We have a car trying to go for a move round Blanchemont, but we defend well, and he actually gets a little love tap from the guy behind, and there's a few cars spinning out through the chicane, and we are relieved of a bit of pressure from behind as we come over the line to complete our first lap and down through La Source to start our second lap of this 21 lap race around Spa. So we started on the medium compound tyre. We've decided that we're going to try and do a zero stop strategy. A lot of cars tried that at Silverstone last time out and it worked quite well for some of them, we found. So we're trying that ourselves this time. Lots of other cars seem to have a similar strategy. The car in front, Secchi, on the hard compound, so he's definitely trying to go to the end. But we'll see if the mediums will make it with a little bit of nursing, taking it a bit easier through the high speed corners like this one here, like P1. Forgot to mention, but we've made it up to 8th position after the first lap, so that's not bad going at all. Starting P11, made up 3 positions, a few crashes along the way I'm sure, but also just keeping it clean on the first couple of corners serves you really well in this series, I've found. And Sleuther goes for a move around the outside into the chicane, and we let him have it. He's obviously a quicker driver, having started a considerable gap behind us on the last lap, and he managed to close that down quite easily. And behind us we have Berg. Again, he featured in our last highlights video around Silverstone, and he's now hot on our tail again around Spa in his familiar green and white car. He gets DRS, but so do we. We get DRS on the car in front. Can we keep ahead? He's on the hard compound, so we don't particularly want to let him past. He nearly runs into the back of us as we brake there for Lecoombs, but we managed to keep him behind, and he manages to avoid running into the back of us. He is putting us under some pressure here, but there's not much we can do. We've got a few cars in front of us. We're in a bit of still in a bit of traffic. The field hasn't particularly spread out as well as it should do just yet. As we come through Pouhon for a third time. Berg hot on our tail, and he actually goes for a move, and we don't fight it too hard. He did seem quicker than us. He'd managed to catch us and made that move look easy. So, on to the fourth lap. Down to P9 now. Still up from where we started, and at this rate we should seek to gain about 43 I rating. You'll notice my I rating had, after our good effort last time at Silverstone, we have dropped slightly. I had done a previous attempt at Spa prior to this race, but only lasted about 4 corners before being annihilated by someone dive bombing me from behind. But we've just lost out another position there to Roussel, who again used the DRS to his advantage on the Kemmel straight and managed to just surge past us into the braking zone. We need to try and make sure we're not hemorrhaging too many places here. See if we can stay on the back of Roussel, although he does seem to be quite quick. And letting Roussel past us also opened up a bit of a gap to the other cars in front, such as Berg and Secchi. So we need to try and close that back down again if we're going to make up any more places in this race. Or perhaps we just need to try and nurse our tyres better, hopefully have a bit more pace towards the end of the race. That's the bonus of these longer Grand Prix events. There's the fixed series, which is a much shorter event, also half the distance of this race. But in that, tyre wear doesn't really come into effect. And there definitely aren't any pit strategies to play. While it seems like the optimum strategy has become a zero stop in these races, if you can make the mediums last, you do have to be a little bit careful about your tyre wear, which makes for a lot more interesting racing, I find. So we're going to try and do the full length races where we can this season, hopefully provide some highlights for each one. Spa is a track that I'm obviously very familiar with. If you caught our 24-hour race around Spa back in July, I think it was, myself and Josh, my teammate for Easy Grass Yorkshire Racing, completed the 24-hour race as a two-man team. It was very fun for the first, I'd say, 6 hours, and then it got a bit grueling. And the last 6 hours, I don't think I can remember very much of. I just remember having a nap. Oh, we go past Berg. Berg has stopped on the track. Not sure what's gone wrong there. But our rival from the previous Silverstone race that we keep seeing to bump into in these events has had to exit the race. Or at least retire to the pits. Take a tow to the pits. We'll see if he rejoins the race, but it's not looking good for him. But it's good for us. We move back up to 9th place. Falling off Roussel though, who seems to have superior pace to us. But yes, completing a 24-hour race as a two-man team, I would not advise. We started the race about 8 AM in our local time in the UK, which meant by about 18 hours into the race, about 2 AM, 3 AM, we were well and truly spent and really struggling to stay awake. But we kept the car on the track. We came home and finished the race in P13, which we're really proud of. A few mistakes early on cost us quite a bit of lap time, including my pit exit, as we see a car in the barrier and a rear wing bouncing across the track. I think had that been real life, the rear wing would have hit my car, and if not for the halo, I may have lost my head. So thank you for the halo, and thank you iRacing for not programming in damage to other cars from flying pieces of other car. Hello, it's me again. Sorry for interrupting in the middle of that exciting highlights video, but I just wanted to tell you about my new Etsy shop. Are you a big fan of racing? You are? Great! Then you can have your favourite track as wall art to pin on your wall. Silverstone, Spa, or the Red Bull Ring, or any track of your choice. If so, then head over to the link up here, and if you use code PURE15 at checkout, then you will get 15% off on any orders of 3 or more tracks. I manufacture them myself, and I've had some really good feedback over the Christmas period. Lots of people have given them to their friends, given them to their family. If you would like one, then head over to the link and purchase one. It'd be really appreciated. Thanks. So we complete lap 7, about a third into the race now, and we're still sitting about 1 and a bit seconds off the back of Secchi in front, which means we're probably not going to get DRS down the Kemmel Straight this time. We're really trying to push the car now. We're putting it into the attack mode for the energy deployment, and just trying to get every little bit of pace we can to try and get into that DRS in front, because it will help us catch so much easier. Because at the moment Secchi is using the cars in front to pull him along, and it's making our job of catching him a lot harder. Now we come into Lacombe's. There is dust in the air, and that is another car in the barrier. Another 2 cars in the barrier, I believe. I believe we jumped up 2 positions there to P6. And it's allowed us... It obviously affected Secchi in front. He obviously had to react to that and slow down to avoid getting tangled up in any of the debris or any of the cars lying around the track. And it's allowed us to get into that magical 1 second gap, which if we can keep through towards the DRS zones, it's going to help us stay in contact with him and potentially even pass him. He looks to be running the hard compound tyres, so he's definitely going to go to the end. We've got to make sure we can go to the end as well then. Well, we should have a little pace advantage at the moment. The medium tyres being quicker than the hards, of course, when they're in a good condition, that is. After 9 laps, our tyres still should be in relatively good condition. We get a much better run through the chicane, and we're right on the gearbox of Secchi. We get DRS down the little home straight. We don't want to go for a move into La Source. We want to wait and save it for the opportunity down the Kemmel Straight. But Secchi runs wide through La Source, and we take P5. We'll see whether he did that intentionally to try and get a run down the Kemmel Straight, but we've got a 0.8 gap. I think we should be able to defend. He does get the DRS, because he passed the DRS detection after us, but he's not got the speed to catch us up. So, into P5, past Secchi on the hards. We'll see how our pace compares until the end of the race, whether we can pull away or whether he'll use the DRS to stick with us, and then he may even have the tyre advantage towards the end of the race. in which we will have to do a little bit of defending. We will wait and see. So on to the start of lap 11, almost halfway through the race now, and it appears there are only 11 cars remaining in this race. Not 11, 13 cars remaining in this race. 14 is in the pits, but they've been in the pits for a little while, so I would imagine they are out of this race as well. But from the initial 25 or 26 cars that started this race, about half of them have retired halfway into the race. So that says what there is to say about this series. Oh, and we come through the chicane. Vettel off at the side of the chicane. It sounded like he'd locked up. So we move up to P4. With another free position from someone making a mistake. But in the process, Secchi has got into the 1 second gap behind us. It'll mean he has DRS on the Kemmel straight. Can he use it to catch us? Or can we try and pull away a bit again? We're going to have to use the attack mode in the ERS to do our best to defend. We've got 8 laps left of this race. It's a long time to defend if Secchi has a bit of a pace advantage. With the DRS, it's really hard to defend down the Kemmel straight if they get a good run through Eau Rouge, but we'll see what we can do. In the middle sector here, through Pouon and through the next couple of S corners, there's really not many opportunities for overtakes, so they're not really the danger zones. The dangerous areas are definitely the Kemmel straight and also potentially the back straight through Blanchimont and into the chicane. That's another opportunity for an overtake, so we'll have to be on our toes there as we come through Blanchimont and down to the chicane. I don't think Secchi is close enough on this occasion. No DRS through that area, of course, so much less of a threat than the Kemmel straight, but a threat nonetheless. He will get DRS on the main straight here, but it's such a short straight that it's unlikely that he'd go for a move into La Source, particularly when he knows the Kemmel straight is coming right up after it. Secchi really pushing on us now, really applying some pressure. He's 4/10 off the back of us, sitting right on our gearbox. He may go for a move into the chicane. He's probably close enough. Doesn't appear like he wants to though. He's going to wait and bide his time, probably for the Kemmel straight. This is the easiest place to overtake, the safest place to overtake. He doesn't want to put his car in the wall now. He runs a bit wide through La Source, which means he's not as close as he was going into the corner, and that might be just what we need to stay ahead. But it definitely feels like he has a pace advantage now. With the DRS, he's definitely not going away, and we definitely don't have the pace to pull away from him either. But we've still got a few laps to defend. We lock up into the chicane, and as we come over the line to start lap 17, Secchi really must feel like he's got a chance here. He's got to get La Source right first though. and make sure he has a good run down the Kemmel Straight. That's the most important thing. We run a little wide through the source, and this is Secchi's best chance of the race so far to take us. He's right in our slipstream through El Rouge, up through Radulon, and he's got us here. He's got the slipstream advantage, he's got the DRS, and he's passed us before we even reach the braking zone. Nothing I could have done there, really. I tried to defend the inside, but he just had the advantage in space, and he'd got past me before we could even fight for the corner. So we're down to P5 again, which is frustrating because we'd held P4 for a little while there, but it's not over yet. We've still got 4 laps after this to try and take back the position. With the help of DRS, it may be possible. It's always hard to tell who is the quicker car in these races when DRS gives such an advantage on some tracks, particularly down the Kemmel Straight here. And at Silverstone on the Hanger Straight, the DRS played a big role there as well. But here we have DRS on Secchi again. We're in the slipstream. Not quite close enough to remove this lap. We've got to try and save up that battery and use it where we can. But obviously Secchi will be doing the same. He will be using the battery to defend where he can. So we're going to have to pick our moments and use our battery, hopefully, when he isn't. As we have a bit of a wobble through No Name Corner. And that was a moment that could have been the end of our race. Our tyres are getting a little bit worn now as we approach the end of the race. We've got a just under a second gap to Secchi in front. We've got to try and keep that gap low enough so that we get DRS. Make sure we get a clean exit out of the chicane, which is always quite tricky. Very easy to get a bit excited on the throttle and end up facing the wrong way. But we come through the source, and we're under a second, 0.7 of a second behind Secchi in the slipstream, on board through Radulon and down the Kemmel Straight, opening up DRS. And at this point we're ever closing, but not fast enough. Not enough to make a move. We've got to be much closer coming out of the source. Or we have to hope that Secchi doesn't use his battery or runs out of battery power at some point. We've got to make sure we save ours for the right moments. For example, we can be saving battery or charging the battery on these sectors, which, as you can see, the flashing red light on the back of the car means that we're harvesting electrical kinetic energy, and that will be stored up in the battery, and we can deploy it on the straights to give us an increased top speed. A bit of a messy sector there from myself, and we've dropped off Secchi again, and with only 2 laps to go after the completion of this lap, we've really got to up our game. We've really got to get onto his tail and get past him. And not sure why, but Secchi really dropped off through Blanchimont at the chicane. Again, we're right on his tail, 0.5 of a second into the source, basically pushing him around the corner, and this is our chance. This is the closest we've been since being overtaken, and we have a really good chance here to retake P4 as we come up through Radulon. We will have DRS on the Kemmel Straight and the slipstream. He moves to the inside to try and defend it. We pull out to the outside into the braking zone. We both go side by side through Lacooms, and we manage to stick it. both of us being very brave there, trusting each other, and rightfully so, we kept it clean. But we're up to P4. That was a really nice move, if I do say so myself. It had the recipe to end in disaster, but I think I was slightly ahead going into the corner, and therefore had every right to try and take it. I gave him a little bit of space on the inside, but I knew that I had the better line, the faster line through Lecombs, and would most likely end up in front, which is where we are now. And on lap 20, that's almost the perfect time to make that overtake. I would maybe have ideally liked to have made that move on lap 21, because now we have one more run down the Kemmel Straight to defend. And Secchi knows that that's his one last chance to overtake us as well. As we both come out of the chicane, over the lap, over the finish line, to start the last lap, I should say. As we come through the source, Secchi 0.7 of a second behind. Will that be enough to make a move? We'll find out. As we come down through Eau Rouge, 0.6 seconds onto the Kemmel Straight. He opens up the DRS. But is the gap too much? Can he close it? We move to the inside. He's not close enough. Into Lecombs, we still have P4. Secchi's hot on our tail still though, 0.3 of a second behind. Will he seek another opportunity on this lap? There's not many chances for overtake. Will his pressure cause us to make a mistake? You'd hope not. A veteran of Spa himself, such as me, after having completed probably the best part of 300, 400 laps at Spa 24 hours. Admittedly not in this car, but nonetheless, I've probably driven this track more than any other track in iRacing now. But can we hold this P4? There's only one other opportunity now as we come down towards Blancmont. Will he make a move into the chicane? It will have to be a late lunge, but people are capable on iRacing of making late lunges. He looks to the inside, but he thinks better of it. He did look to be coming in quite hot, but there we are. We come over the line in a P4. That was a really hard-fought battle with Secchi, and actually a very enjoyable one as well. The DRS in these cars makes for some great racing. I think in other series we wouldn't have had such a good battle. I think one of us would have pulled away a lot easier. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this highlights video of the Grand Prix series around Spa. We finished P4 in the end. I hope we can do just as well, if not better, next time out. So until then, bye for now.